Dr. Nichelle Gurley, and I'm specialized in prenatal, postpartum, and pediatric chiropractic care, along with prenatal and postpartum fitness and rehab. We're going to review movements to help with optimal baby positioning. Every single one of these movements I have as a separate YouTube video, so if you need to look at one of those more in depth, please do, but this is to put them all together, or most of them together. These are not the only movements you can do. These are just ones that I highly suggest. So one of the biggest ones, if baby is not in an optimal position, they're occiput posterior, they are transverse, or they're breech. These are going to be all great things to do. Now, depending on which position those are in, there's going to be movements that are a little bit better than others. The way we sit matters, so we're going to talk about that first. But essentially, if baby's head down, if you're somebody whose baby's head down, we want the back, which is the second heaviest part of the body, to be towards your belly. So if we're slouched all the time, that's going to put a pretty big impact on baby's position. We want to be seated on our sits bones to allow for baby's back to go towards our belly, which is why we'll do a couple other movements in this video to get baby's back towards your belly. So how we sit, we're going to sit on our sits bones, make sure that we're not tucked under on our pelvis. Let me turn to the side. So we don't want to be like this in the car or at work. We want to be on our sits bones with a nice curve to our lumbar spine, and our sacrum is not tucked. I'm going to move this out of the way. There's also several stretches that can be helpful to open up the pelvis. One is a hip flexor stretch where we come here, tuck sacrum, drive forward, open up. We also have an oblique stretch where you can just lean to the side. You can use the doorway. There's a video on this. There's also movement on the ground. There's elevated pigeon, which I'm going to do up against the couch here. But essentially you bring your leg up and you come back and you open up your glute. So those are the three main stretches, your obliques, your hip flexors, and your glutes. You can come down into bed or on the ground and do belly massage, which again, I have a big video on this. So just coming around, opening up all these muscles that can be tight, working on your round ligaments. And then you can flip over and come into a position that's going to be helpful for getting baby's back towards your belly. So again, if you're in this position, baby's more likely to rest like this than face down. The heaviest part is their spine after their head. So that we want to come down and use gravity for. So coming into a cat-cow of the pelvis, so pelvic tilts. I like widening the knees and doing child's pose, but around the world. So looping around, dropping into child's pose, coming back around, looping back into child's pose. These are positions that if you're watching TV at night, I prefer people not to recline because, again, reclining is tucking that sacrum and pulling more of the baby's back to your back, which we don't want. We want baby's back to your belly. So I really encourage, if baby's not in an optimal position, to not be reclining at night, not be tucked on that sacrum, and instead be sideline or come into all fours positions or child's pose instead of that kicked back, relaxed position. So again, in this position, pelvic tilt, cat-cow. We can have you do the around the world child's pose, and then crawling. Crawling is really great to keep the pelvis nice and open and to also be in that quadruped tabletop position for that baby's back to come to your belly. We can also use a stability ball, which let me grab this here. And we can do a lean on the ball. So you could watch a show like this or just spend some of your night like this. You put your computer on the couch and do some work if you had to get work done. But really being in this tabletop position using gravity. And then one of the last things that I recommend is going to be the forward leaning inversion. And again, if baby's breech, there's some other things we can add to the picture, but these are all great things to ensure optimal baby positioning. So only do this alone if you feel very confident in your stability. But forward leaning inversion is a spinning baby's movement. You're going to come down from a chair level or couch onto your forearms into this position here. And you only need to be here for about 45 seconds. This is called forward leaning inversion. You can find plenty of information of it on my YouTube page, but also from the Spinning Babies website. But essentially, if you can gather, what we're going over is to get baby into a more optimum position. We are changing our habits from how we sit, making sure we're not reclining at night, that we're laying on our sides to help get babies back in that position, maybe help open up the pelvis so the baby's head can get down if it's not down. Opening up the pelvis with the glute stretches and the hip flexor stretches so that baby can have as much space as possible with an open pelvis. So we're not moving baby, right? We're just opening up any restrictions and hoping to use gravity and reducing any restrictions in the muscles to get baby to get into the best position as possible. Cat-cow or pelvic tilts is really great. Crawling around the world child's pose is great. Leaning on the ball, and then that forward leaning inversion. Those are all wonderful things to be trying to help get baby in an optimal position. Because I'm a chiropractor and the work that I do, I really appreciate the opening of the pelvis that we can do, and also the work that I can do on the pelvis and the abdominal wall. So that is also really great work that can be done to help with baby position if baby is not, if you're being told baby is not in the best position. All of these things I mentioned are great things to be doing even if baby is in a good position. None of the things that I just mentioned will then put baby in a bad position because you did them. So overall, these are great movements to be doing during pregnancy, and especially great to do if you know that your baby may not be in the best position right now.